Welcoming everyone to the grand finals. Match 2 between these teams. Elysium 1-0 up on the match points, and they are looking to hopefully close it out today, but Invictus are not going to go without a fight. We are now into the Dracula set. Elysium, Xeno playing it killer for his team, and as we get into the action, let me take the opportunity to introduce my co-caster, Mr. Direwolf. It is an absolute pleasure to be sharing this stage with you today. How are you doing, man?
Thank you so much, Zach, for the nice intro here. Can only say the same. I'm looking forward to the match, especially with you here, and I'm fantastic. I'm so excited about this match. It is either going home for Invictus today or Xeno riding the success party, basically. Or we will have to meet up next Saturday for the ultimate best of 9 showdown. Maybe at the beginning real quick, while Xeno is trying to get the first injury here. Zach, who do you think is up today? Elysium 2-0, or do you secretly root for Invictus here?
I don't know. Yesterday I was kind of talking about how we had like some really unusual sets which Elysium kind of took advantage of, like, you know, those unusual sets that maybe Invictus weren't practicing. But now we're at these you know, more conventional killers, more the ones that they will be practicing. So Invictus are back in the comfort zone. So I'm thinking they're going to be putting up a much better fight today compared to yesterday. But I still think it's going to be close. You know, I do think we could potentially see, you know, game 6 for game 7. Yeah, putting me on the spot though, as usual. Spit's going to go down, and yeah, I'm going to give it to Invictus today. I'm kind of hoping for that best of 9 next weekend.
Yeah, Spitz kind of looks like he's ready to cook, that's for sure, with a good first chase here. First generator already completed, just thrown onto the hook now, and classic Invictus now spreading up the pressure across individual generators to make sure that they do get a good grasp of pressure over the trial here. Xeno kind of in the mid-map now, trying to find the next survivor to potentially chase here, trying to catch some rescuers that are rotating in early, but that's the job for Pedro here, gone unnoticed behind the main building now. So good work there by Invictus so far. Kexo and Dan progressing the generators here, and Pedro lurking a little bit for the perfect timing, wants to make sure that he's not caught too early. Looks good so far. Xeno, though, now spotting the survivor. Good gaming chair and good game sense. Unfortunately, a little bit overexcited. That's not going to be the injury right here, and even our Wolfie is a little bit jumping too far ahead. Eventually, the injury coming out onto Pedro. Difficult for Invictus. Now someone else needs to rotate, or they let Spitz go into second stage. That could ultimately work out for Xeno here.
Yeah, absolutely. Finding Pedro there was absolutely massive, because if they pop these 2 gens and Spitz doesn't go second stage, it's really going to make Xeno struggle, right? So instantly denying that's going to basically make it feel good, because he's going to be facing, he's going to be having an elimination basically on the line. And he manages to spot this gen out. I don't know if he wants to commit this though. Yeah, Dan just reading the fact that he's not going to go for that. And looks like Kexo's been found off the back of the gen that he completed. Going to be committing chase over there initially, or no, just taking the injuries, spreading the pressure, basically setting himself up for this endgame. But yeah, I don't know if he wants to secure this elimination. How are Invictus going to punish him for that? Are they going to continue sticking these gens? But if they don't reset, that means that Xeno could potentially face some quick downs later on into the game. Now this essentially seen the progress on the map. After popping those 2 gens, he probably sees that he has a bit of time, and the reset's going off in the distance. Dan here coming for the rotation. Is he far enough away? It looks like maybe Spitz is gonna die, and Pedro's about 40% on this 4th gen. And Dan, we have our elimination at 2 gens remaining, or basically 1.5 gen remaining. But getting that reset in, making sure that they're not at risk of losing pressure fast. I'd say that both sides are trying to play this calm and collected though.
Yeah, Spitz dying there on first hook was definitely not in my script for today. That's unfortunate, but if we make sure that we get the pressure, basically making Xeno pay for that elimination, it can still work out, right? They definitely didn't waste the time. We've seen the reset you mentioned. We can hear the progress into some of these generators, and we also don't have the most horrible setup at the moment. So there's definitely the potential here to make something out of that. Pedro, for example, in the distance with a 70% generator already. And even if you get found now, you do have 2 minutes of hang time basically, so you can make something out of it. Important to mention also, I did a little bit of research. I watched back Nightlight's stream from yesterday. In the outro, in his conclusion, he said, one problem we had today was that we were found too often when it came down to important rescues and resets. That's kind of interesting, right? Because it's exactly what happened here. Pedro being found earlier was a huge turning point in the trial and kind of threw over the game plan that we had. So it seems like Invictus didn't really recover from the mistake yet that they identified there. Next generator being completed, and now you can basically have a beautiful 3 survivor, 3 generator split. And whoever takes the next chase has to better make it a long one.
Absolutely. And Xeno biting that tree there, showing down who's boss, is going to take an injury here. And one of the things that they need to make sure they're not doing is dying in this top side, right? Because it looks clear to me like Xeno wants to hold that 3-gen. So I mean, any pressure that you give over to him on this killer side, especially with the pain res, he's still got the 4 stacks to use. Didn't actually get one on, well, I say he's got 3 stacks to use because he camp spits to death. But yeah, basically these next couple of chases are going to matter a lot. The amount of progress that they can get in response to this chase, and it's going to be a very back and forth thing, especially with this 20% flat regression coming in from the Scorch Hook. Opting for that, and then he has his bat form to just maneuver so fast. Dracula does really well in holding survivors in the 3v1, so Invictus survivors are going to have to play this pretty carefully. But yeah, I thought it was quite interesting what you said about the them finding those rotations and the rescues, because yeah, like quite often that makes the difference between what you're trying to accomplish in the trial, and then when it doesn't go to plan, you essentially have to shift tack mid-match, and especially on this stage, you know, that could be kind of nerve-wracking sometimes. But yeah, down on the hook now. Pedro's being found, and we have pop applied to that gen being worked on. Pedro and Chase playing these check spots, and yeah, I think that right now Xeno has somewhat control of this match so far.
Yeah, Invictus looking really strong. Xeno needs to find some sort of an answer here. They are not even injured, so we need something, because otherwise generator number 5 is going to be completed soon, and you really don't want to be in that position where you like run after one of the remaining fresh hook survivors to just desperately get 7 stages together here. So it is definitely understandable that he cannot overcommit to a chase at the moment, because otherwise the generators would just fly in his back. But hopefully we will be able to catch a survivor that's leaving the generators a little bit too late. Again, we pointed it out yesterday, sometimes, especially when we talk about a little bit of a recovery play, you do rely on a little bit of a mistake from these survivors. But unfortunately, it's on Xeno that also some things are not working out. Another Hellfire here, not finding the target, and yet he's confident that there will be enough time to catch up onto this survivor before that final generator is coming through. Difficult mind game here on the TNL for Kexo, and that's going to be the pretty quick down. Dan, the man working on the generator over here, leaving it now, because obviously Xeno's first move after getting the pain res in is heading back towards the generators over there. Yeah, now difficult moment for the survivors, right? We kind of move towards the standstill.
Oh no,
the typical 3v1 scenario, and again rescue being found. Again Pedro, ladies and gentlemen, someone call this man up, and after DBDL today, you guys walk into the forest and practice some hide and seek with him.
Oh, and he gets the Hellfire hit too. This is devastating. You can only hope that Dan maybe gets the 5th generator in response for this, because he's stuck at these tires. The second win going to be coming through onto Kexo. It looks like Dan rotated for the unhook once Pedro got found. And so Zeno now knows that there's not really too much progression to speak of, at least in the matter of the last 30 seconds after this chase started. And Pedro is going to go down, but crucially, Dyer, it is in the top side of the map. And the position of this hook is essentially meaning that they're going to be putting themselves in harm's way for this rescue.
Oh dear, Pedro not with the most lucky trials, so to say, back, as you mentioned, in the generator setup now, and that's the good news for Zeno here, who already spots the next survivor, so that basically just leaves Kexo now on the mission to either rescue or grind the generator, but then you might have to let Pedro go second later on. Difficult now to split these resources across all the tasks that Zeno is putting up at the moment, but still Invictus at the same time doing really good that Zeno cannot take over, really, right? Like, they are in a difficult spot and the pressure happens, but then they are able to dodge the next Hellfire. They are able to leave the generator early, so Zeno is close to taking over, but they never really allow it to happen. And that's still where the Invictus fans might have a little bit of hope. Pedro, though, going down here in the corner, trying to buy as much time as possible, but that's enough time for Zeno to get another hook stage in. So if this continues like this cycle that we currently see here, then I'm actually confident that we might see a 4K here.
Yeah, you can see Dan setting up there for an insta unhook, because he knows that Zeno's going to check this gen, right? Probably, yeah. He makes his way over there. Oh, he's kind of sussed of it, though. Look at him. He's kind of staring back. He knows how these things work. And yeah, the sprint burst coming in. That's the unhook coming through. Didn't quite see if Zeno got the kick in there. But that's Pedro going to be facing elimination. He's going to be... Oh, no, he lost him. He got confused with the scratch mark. So Pedro's going to make it to safety a little bit. Has the bat form to catch up, though. But how long can Pedro last in this chase? We have the Hellfire trying to be aimed, but yeah, a few times Pedro's been caught at this loop here, and it's not the safest. Trying to hold W away to get much distance. I do wonder if that gen is going to be getting closer, if they're doubling it, because Pedro essentially... Oh no, they're not doubling it. Dan wants to go for it. Oh no, and it misses both, but Dan is not able to protect Pedro here. Well, I mean, he missed the wolf bounce, but he's gonna live a little bit longer. The body block's coming in. No, he's using the Hellfire to lose collision and make sure he can get to Pedro. But one thing to note, actually, he hasn't been pain rest. I don't think Pedro's been pain rest. This could be 20% on that gen. It is. Oh, he gets the 20% flat regression, and that might be enough time to stop the gen. Kexo's working it. There's not enough time. He's going to have the TP, and he's going to have the pop goes to Weasel. This is huge for Elysium.
Oh, this is the moment on the Invictus side. Oh, where you, first of all, have to have some juice, but Invictus now, considering the survivor roster, is the moment where you say, God damn it, that we didn't get the final generator done yet. And unfortunately, the Dracula is also not completely flightless. He has a lot of mobility to reach the other side here. And we are basically back on the alternative backup generator now with Dan here. But that's below 50%, and I believe that was just in time for the pop kick with the final millisecond. Now the injury as well here. Ladies and gentlemen, as strong as Invictus looked like at the beginning of this trial, as much it's falling apart, but Kexo cooking, Kexo the wizard, Kexo the magician, and Kexo the legend here. Generator number 5. Zach, I was not planning with that final generator anymore. That is a huge shake up towards the very end here. Wow.
Oh my god, they played that. They must have played that so aggro. They must have immediately rotated as soon as Dan called that Zeno was on his way. What a decision. That makes the difference for our next killer result too, because you've gone now from, for Elysium to win, now they need outs, but before they only needed to finish all gens, right? And that's such a difference. And I feel like that small, like that one decision towards the end of the game, Well, it was just what absolute cinema, honestly. We'll throw it over to our analyst to do an overview of that match, but absolutely insane game from both of these teams.
Talk about a performance there. I mean, yeah, we know 4Ks happen often, but it definitely felt like the survivors were able to fight back quite a bit in their own right. So, one thing that I really wanted to point out here, because I know that Flightless was talking about this a little bit in the back, was as far as the build that we did see for Xeno. So, Flightless, you want to talk us through that real quick?
Yeah, the build that Xeno went with is a very good classic for Dracula. Corrupt, obviously for early game, Pain Res, Pop Eruption. That combo is just extremely good. Xeno had a pretty okay-ish start. The average down for Dracula is a bit quicker than what Xeno got, but still a minute 35 for the first down is really good. So he was able to force a 3v1 relatively early. Now, he did get into 3v1 with 0 stages on anyone else at 2 gens remaining, but with Pain Res, Pop, Eruption, every single down that the survivors get is so much progression lost almost immediately. And versus a killer like Dracula, where he's very chase heavy, as soon as the Hellfire is gone, he has the Wolf. As soon as the Wolf is gone, he has the Hellfire. If he misses both, then he has the Bat to catch up and cut you off from essential loops and good zones for the survivors. So it's just constant down pressure, down pressure, down pressure. And Xeno, while his chase was kind of inconsistent, as Edgar was probably going to talk about. He was just able to get so many downs after finding the survivors, and they just almost completely got 4K one. It was looking so good, and then Kexo popped that gen last millisecond.
Well, Edgar, the one question I did really want to ask to you here, we had heard our casters kind of talking about how Nightlight at the end of his stream yesterday was talking about how Invictus kept getting found when moving in for big saves. And we saw that a little bit more here today as well. Do you feel like that's more of mistakes on Invictus's side, or is that more about Xeno just being in his bag?
There's a difference between like being found because you like were incorrectly positioned and being found because you're inevitably going to be found. I'm not fully sure that was the full reason why Invictus lost yesterday, but I do think that there is some truth to it as being part of the reason. I think it was very odd. Xeno was pretty good at consistently finding the survivors, I agree, but the chases were a bit all over the place. Now, I'm not sure how Elysium feel about this result. Like, 4Ks are what we know is that 4Ks are expected on Dark Lord. They happen like 63% of the time. So they're on track in that sense. But I think a 4K1 is below the mark. I'm not thoroughly convinced that Elysium, against the strength of Invictus on their killer side, are going to be able to get outs here, because they need outs for a win. That's how the 4K0 works. So it's a bit confusing, to be honest, that set, a bit inconsistent from both these teams, and then we end up with a result that we don't see that often, to be honest. 4K1, definitely the standard for a Dark Lord. 4K0, a little more uncommon, and I think the inconsistent chases from Xeno is what led to that. But I'm very ready for the Elysium survivors to prove me wrong and shut my mouth up.
Well, we do have a very clear and concise win condition as we do look towards trial number 2. For Nightlight, if he can get all of those hook stages, able to get the eliminations done before the last gen pops, well, Invictus walks away with a dub. If Elysium is able to get any stages out the door, they walk away from set number 1 with a series lead moving towards set number 2. So let's go ahead and get ready to take another trip back into the fog and hand it right back on over to Zach and Dyer.
Thank you so much to our analyst desks, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, the first set is always a pretty important one, right? You kind of set the mood, the momentum, the dynamics for the rest of the series, and Elysium is a little bit in a advantage position, right? Let's take it like this. They have taken the best of 7 yesterday, and it's their pick that opens up the second match of today. So you should better take that set, but for that, we have a good performance, hopefully, from Marco, Pedro, Zeno, and Oscar against Nightlight here, who's coming out on the Dracula side. We see one pallet being dropped very early in order to make sure that we establish some safety here. But over to the fun bus, where Dan yesterday made the uncomfortable experience that the window can sometimes be tricky, so that shouldn't be the case on this spawn. Nightlight here into the pallet, Zeno taking it safe as well, and that's probably a good idea here, Zach. You want to make sure that you don't take an unexpected injury too early. Talking about that, Zeno unfortunately taking it pretty early, and if Nightlight is playing this right, he might get a few seconds in advantage.
As Zeno is running right through that pallet, and it's going to mean that he goes down to the Wolf Pounce. That is a down right next to a Scorchuk 2, so Nightlight's going to be chilling, knows that he has some early pressure, and it is in the middle of the map, so it's not exactly the safest place to unhook, especially given that you're running with a split bus too, so it's not even the safest version of that tile. Essentially giving... He went down, he got that injury because of the... I don't know if you noticed on the tile there, he took Nightlight took the control of the pallet, and when he's in wolf form, he's very hard to spot, so Zeno just deciding to send it in the hopes that he can get the pallet stun. Didn't pay off, unfortunately, but already being found again. This is going to be such an early elimination. Oh, he dodges out on the pounce. Very nice. That would have been devastating if he had died to that. Gonna opt for the pallet break. We now make our way back to the shack. We have our bat form. Going to be using potentially, yes, the Lapis Lazuli add-on to block the window. We rotate back around for the shack. Does Nightlight get the block in time? Oh, does he miss it? Oh, okay. His Hellfire got eaten up by that table, I think. But yeah, so Zeno's going to live just a little bit longer. Look at the gens that are flying. You've got 3 on the way. 2 relatively close. 1 halfway. Urban Evasion. An Iron Will coming in clutch. And it looks like Nightlight got a little bit confused, but Zeno makes it and he gets the stun. That's huge. Now he makes it to safety. Potentially a hit tank could come in too. 2 gens now answered for this chase. Zeno on absolute fire. Pre-drops that pallet. We're going around the side. Double back coming through. And he gets grabbed. And that is such an insane chase by Zeno.
That was absolutely incredible. Problems team is probably the correct community term for what we have just witnessed. Very, very strong there. Marco also had a really far progress generator in the distance, and Pedro and Oscar, after finishing their objectives, have also obviously gotten the pressure into 2 additional generators here. So that's looking really good for Elysium here. We can only hope that Nightlight gets, probably he's aiming for the elimination onto Zeno there, gets it fast now, because you need to get the elimination done in time, so to say. There still need to be some generators left in the trial that you can defend against 3 survivors here. So we need a little bit of a speed run. Nightlight definitely in the position where we need a recovery. Just going between the generators and forcing some regression will not be enough. Back onto the hook here. Rescuer not coming around. They might just sacrifice Zeno here.
Yeah, potentially. I'm trying to keep an eye on where these gens are, because we had a very distinct, like, 3-gen last trial. Oh, looks like Marco's coming in for the save. Does he make it in time? I think he does. Tried to interrupt my point there because the unhook was coming through. And Elysium prevent themselves from going into that 3v1, but this is going to be a pain risk to answer that. So... yeah, I was going to say where the 3-gen is, I'm not too sure, but that could essentially set the survivors up for success if they're able to avoid it. I believe it's around Shack this time, and a lot of chase has gone. A lot of that chase has gone into this area, so it's going to be relatively unsafe. We've got the main building 1-2 on top of that, but it looks like we've got kind of a mirrored matchup. Zeno is going to go down, and that will be the death. Thankfully, they got the unhook onto Marco in the meantime. And yeah, it's going to be Zeno leading the trial. He managed to get that pain risk actually onto Marco. So instead of being at 1-gen remaining, we're at 2-gens. So Nightlight's actually taking a bit of an advantage if you're comparing stages of the game, especially now that he got Pop Goes the Weasel.
Yeah, the difficulty is just, right, we need to keep in mind not a single survivor can step out of this trial. And even if we achieve a 4K on all gens completed, which is an incredible result against a top team like Elysium, then it would only be the tie. So there's still a pretty long to-do list in front of Nightlight here. Let's see how the chase with Marco is going, because that will definitely need to be a quick down, but it's also asked for and delivered. And Oscar and Pedro on a half and quarter of a generator in the distance there, so nothing like urgent pressure that is coming out to Nightlight now. We have a little bit of extra time here, so if you now manage to catch the next survivor unexpectedly early and immediately forcing them into a chase, you might be able to still pull this here, and Oscar is getting located by Nightlight. Now going back towards the hook makes a lot of sense, because obviously you can kind of expect Pedro now to rotate over, and that's exactly what's happening here. So brilliant situational awareness by Nightlight for the surroundings, and really making sure that all the survivors are kept busy at the moment, away from the generators. Sprint burst towards the fun bus here. Mind game in favor of Nightlight. All three injured out of nowhere. Zach, is that potentially the huge comeback?
Yeah, I think so. This is definitely 4K2 territory, if not 4K1, but both would result in a win. It's going to take a massive chase from Elysium to try and get out at this point, because of just the amount of progression that they've lost on these gens and how quick these chases are, especially because they're still injured. That's Eruption now going onto Oscar, and I believe this is another pain resonance stack in this corner hook. Every time they take a step forward, Nightlight just puts them 2 steps back. The reset now coming through. Looks like they've slowed down their playstyle a little bit. Not focusing too much on the gens, given that they don't have enough progression really to push those. So Nightlight now going to be finding the reset location. Oh, it looks like Marco has been found. Unfortunately, a second stage on Marco, and he knows where every survivor is. This is going from bad to worse dire. If they do not find some breathing room right now, I think Nightlight's going to run away with this victory, and in pretty dominating fashion, to be honest.
Yep, that's a very unfortunate 180 of the trial here. For a very long part, it really seemed like Nightlight was in the disadvantage, right? From loading into this trial, a 4K with the generator still standing kind of being needed, because Invictus is down by a set point. You really need to make sure that you get the upper hand, and Nightlight against the odds, absolutely pulling it. Fantastic result, taking the responsibility here for Team Invictus, bringing them back, and that's obviously creating a lot of momentum now. You come into this match with the pressure on your shoulders, knowing if we drop it today, Elysium is taking the crown, and then you get a 180 comeback like this. This is going to have some impact on the upcoming trials. Let's throw it to the analysts a little bit early here. Even though we're still in the end game, but Q and friends, what do you guys think about the trial here?
Well, first off, I'd just like to say that there's a reason that Nightlight has won 97 DBD tournaments. One of the best to ever do it. My GOAT for sure. And coming out here and proving exactly why they've been one of the most dominant names in competitive Dead by Daylight for quite some time here. Do got to give a nice back and forth, though. I do feel like they're in that last trial. I mean, we saw the killers, obviously. We had Nightlight was able to find a very early down, but the survivors fought back a little bit too there. Flightless, talk about it for me.
Yeah, it was looking very good for Nightlight at the start. A 57-second down, which is really good. It's below even average for Dracula, and it put him in a good position, getting a pain res early, being able to get survivors on rotations, everything. Then Elysium played it extremely well. They delayed the 3v1 for so long. Zeno had an amazing chase, and not only was it an amazing chase by time, it was also an amazing chase in position, meaning Nightlight had to travel away for those gens. And it seemed to go from Invictus favor to Elysium favor very, very quickly. And then as soon as that 3v1 happened and Nightlight's build started to shine, same build that Zeno used in the previous game, then that's when it went straight back to Invictus, and they get a very strong result.
Able to come out with a dub for sure. Edgar, we had talked about it between trials. You felt like, despite the fact Xeno was still able to walk away with the 4K, that it wasn't enough. Nightlight able to do exactly what needed to be done to walk away with the dub. Talk through me the difference between the two performances here.
I was getting some amount of word from the Elysium dugout that they were very happy on their killer side with the 4K 0 performance, and they felt that was something which was winnable for them. And to be honest, when I heard that, I questioned it a little bit, and it seems that my fears were correct. I don't think 4K 0 is actually a very good result on the killer side as Dark Lord. Like 4K1 is the average. Now, of course, Nightlight just comes out and shoots out of the water. I was saying the entire game, after the first down coming in relatively quickly, as Flightless was saying, it was 40 seconds ahead of what Xeno was able to accomplish. I was thinking, okay, 4K1, 4K1, 4K1. The Madman then ends up getting a 4K2 because God is dead and Nightlight has killed him, apparently. But while all of that, we were kind of talking about Xeno and Nightlight, two names which are going to come up a lot. Obviously, Xeno, the main killer player for Elysium, split some amount of time with Obi, while it's almost a 50-50 split between Nightlight and Pedro on Invictus. Nightlight is a lot more consistent. Coming into this, I was thinking I would have rated Xeno as a slightly better Dark Lord player than Nightlight, but more the point that was raised to me is that, and it's something that I quite agree with, is that Xeno has higher highs, but it's not quite as consistent as Nightlight. Maybe Nightlight doesn't have the same peaks, but let's be honest, you don't win 94 competitive DBD titles without being a hallmark of consistency. And I think that's what Nightlight is, and I think that's what he delivered today. Now, the deadly combination for Invictus is they deliver the high peaks and the consistency. Recall that this was an Elysium pick going into today, so they were confident that they could win this set, and obviously Nightlight puts a stop to that. So Elysium going to have to go back to the drawing board here. They're up right now, but they wanna stop this from going to next week. They don't want to play a best of 9. They want things done here and now.
Feel like I'd be letting my homie Nightlight down if I didn't correct you. 97 wins for
97, even more than I thought. Goodness
when
me.
it comes to DVD tourney wins. But what's funny enough about that is throughout the years, for a long time, there was a thought, there was this like ambiance around the Clown for Nightlight. Nightlight known as somebody you don't want to pick into against for the Clown, and you don't want to leave that pick on the table. Well, we're off to Wrecker's Yard here next, and it will indeed be Invictus out here on the killer, but it won't be Nightlight. It's going to be Pedro because he's been tearing it up and turning out here lately on the killer side. So let's see if they can try and go back to back in these opening sets here to start off our grand final matchup on the day. Let's send it back to Dyer and Zach as we take a trip back in the fog.
Thank you so much, Analysts. And what an explosive Dark Lord set that we have to start off our grand finals. Now going into the Clown set, Invictus's pick, something that they've shined on, particularly Pedro with his strong 4K results and his very, well, he's very, very good at this pick. It's honestly why they pick it. He's very consistent on this pick. It's also something that's widely practiced on ladder too, so it's a bit of a strength on that side too. Looking for our first chase over in the spot side. We see some scratch marks, and we're going to be setting ourselves up with the bottles going over here. A little bit of speed as he sees where the survivor is. Good read on where Oscar is, using the bottles to the advantage. You can see right there, perfect management of the bottles, and this could be quite a fast chase if he plays it properly. Yeah, look at that. No distance whatsoever, and Oscar just goes down basically immediately while the head-on comes in. I mean, that could have waited until the pickup came through, but that's going to be another injury on top. Already starting off with Chaos, 39-second down into an injury. Insane pressure to start us off, Dyer.
Oh, that's again Invictus with a good start for sure. And that's maybe something that Elysium needs to watch out for today, that they make sure that Invictus is not always yeah, feeling so good after the first minute of the trial, right? And that the first chase is coming out, and there is justice being delivered, ladies and gentlemen, after Dan got messed over yesterday from the broken bus window. It is now, unfortunately, the Elysium survivors. So 1-1 on the bus window, all fair and square. And before anyone is shouting repetition of the trial here, not going to happen, because these teams are aware of the bug. So if you vault the bus window at the moment, you basically know that you take a very risky decision there, and that you could also just play the lottery. Zeno is taking injury here as well. Zach, I feel like I've rarely ever watched a competitive clown with a second stage on a survivor and 3 injuries across the board at 5 gens remaining.
Yeah, that's outrageous. I mean, of course, one of those injuries came as a result of that double attempt on the fun bus window, and the fun bus just saying nope. But like, yeah, this insane pressure. He's winning all of these 50-50s on the pallets too, and he's using these bottles in a way that basically the survivors are forced into these situations. So, you know, he's basically 100% winning in just about everything that he's done so far this trial. So, I mean, if we're going into the, you know, the micro of each play, he's succeeding. And this is what we've seen on Pedro. Like, he is very oppressive on this killer because of his skills in chase. He also has the game sense as well. I mean, Oscar now facing elimination after that 30-second chase at the start of the trial. Elysium are going to need to answer this with some pressure, but like, how do you respectfully save against a clown when you're injured? You have the intoxication slowing you down too, and yeah, look, they're just going to leave Oscar to die. This is bad. You could potentially see like 4K2 at least given the pressure, but Marco's about 60% of the way through the gens. Oscar is going to be eliminated as they go through this reset, and Marco is going into this locker. Could be, oh, I wonder if Pedro's going to sniff this out. Oh, he tried. Yeah, he managed to taste it, but look at the bottle as well. He placed it ahead of time, and basically Marco's going to get no distance whatsoever off the back of that stun. Essentially, every scenario that Pedro is facing right now, he is getting the better of these Elysium survivors. It is such a dominating performance.
It is crazy. Like, I feel like we're not even playing clown. Like, this is the ghoul or a nurse or a blight or something like this. Like, Pedro just installed the newest DLC where the clown gets a chainsaw and mobility. If you just join in and you see the UI on the left side with all the progress so far from the killer side, and you would screenshot this and ask someone what killer is currently being played in the tournament, the clown would never be mentioned. Like, this is not how a clown trial is supposed to look. But even better for Pedro and Team Invictus here, making very clear that they are not around for any jokes today, that they have gone into this analysis from yesterday, that they really figured out some key aspects that need to be improved for today. And I also think it's a little bit what the analysts pointed out earlier. It is no longer these surprise sets where Elysium clearly cooked a plan B, how to get the opponent. It is more back to standard, where Invictus is feeling comfortable, where they really shine, where they scrim a lot. And I think like these best of 7th so far feel like a difference between day and night.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, maybe it was the loss yesterday that just fired them up for this next match. But yeah, definitely Invictus coming into this with a lot of momentum and looking really strong. Like both Nightlight on the Dracula and Pedro on the Clown, both of them looking in top form. And yeah, the trial seems to have slowed down a little bit. The chaos that we had earlier, it seems like at least I'm playing it a little bit more careful. So have a chance to potentially get a bit of progress back from what Pedro's taking from them so far this trial. But yeah, I kind of alluded to it yesterday, like at the end of that best of 7 that we had, that we do have more conventional sets. So back to Invictus's comfort zone. Elysium are, you know, essentially we're going back to these sets where it is going to be very competitive, but Invictus showing that they're here to compete. Another head-on coming through, but no bottle setup. Getting the repressed alliance on that Gen 2 to stop him from kicking it with the Dragon's Grip. Very well played. And that is Marco. Not really making much distance at all. You know what I've also noticed is that, to be honest, this map, I don't want to shout RNG too much, but it doesn't seem like they've got very many pallet gyms on this map. It's all kind of 4 lanes here and there, or maze tiles. It also probably easing into Pedro's success, because how do you play, like, especially against the Clown, where he can just catch up to you so fast, slow you down. When you have some of these weaker tiles as well, that's also a contribution to it. But overanalyzing it a little bit maybe there. But Marco on a second stage facing elimination, and Elysium are looking at a 2v1 at 3 gens left, Aya.
And the question is, like, what's the best plan for Elysium now, right? Not very often you are thinking about 4K2, 4K1 potential win conditions when you're competing against the Clown here. So for them, it is an absolute emergency situation. Silhey going down, leaving Zeno as the final survivor standing. And even if you catch the rescue on Marco in time, which we now see in the distance, you basically need to play for the generators now. And you, in worst case, should even consider doubling up, getting one more generator to make that win condition a little bit better for yourself in worst case. But we are definitely in emergency mode here on the side of Elysium. Throwing more bottles already to kind of block the escape route for the survivors, expecting that someone is over here with a little bit of a fake on the locker there. But the survivor left towards the edge map and made sure that they are quickly out of the danger zone. Pedro losing a little bit of time here. Very good work by Zeno. Almost bamboozling him a little bit. That might be a little bit of a chance now to gain some time for the survivor side.
Yeah, we've got 2 gens that are relatively high progress. So if they have a good enough couple of next chases, then they could be facing potentially a couple gens like, nice vault from Zeno there. Pedro playing Minecraft, swinging into that pallet, getting some wood. And this might be the chase that we need. I don't want to jinx it. Oh, good patience from Zeno, actually not vaulting that. He is hindered again. This might be the down. Oh, but it's just on the last pixel as he's going over the pallet. And now, if he opts to hook, he still has Scorch Hook. Do they pop this gen in time, though? It's going to be very, very close. If they get to 2 gens remaining, they have that one by the truck. There is potentially a 4th gen. And after having a survivor die so fast, and look at the timing, that pain res is going to have hit that gem by the truck. But good progress, good chase from Zeno. You have to think about how far ahead Pedro is and how much Elysium are able to come back from that. But Zeno taking the final fresh hook on the survivor side, and Silhey has been found in the corner of the map. Good game sense for Pedro to find these survivors, and if Marco isn't going for that unhook right now, this could be quite bad.
And again, Elysium in this cycle, basically, one survivor going down, the other one is currently taking care of the unhook, right? There is simply just no room for the generator pressure. It is physically impossible to sit on the generators at the moment with this insane pressure that Pedro established here, and with all the tasks that he basically hands over to the survivor side. Silhey is staying there on the ground for a little bit. Zeno needs to make sure that he's not being found too quickly, or at least not down too quickly. Speed bottle coming out. Pedro wants to make sure that he's zooming around the tile, and the unfortunate vault into the Clown. Good mind game here from Pedro. And here again, right? Zeno going down. They are healing in the distance, and they don't even have the time to finish the reset on both survivors until the next down in the distance already came through again. Elysium just has nothing to say here in this trial. Pedro decides what's happening, where the pressure is, and what's possible. And that's it.
Yeah, I think this is definitely Elysium set to lose, at least for what we've seen so far from Pedro on his Clown, and it's just showing, I guess, what the killer's capable of. But I feel like Elysium, I don't know their experience with Clown sets, or if it's something that's a bit of a weakness for them, but yeah, they're definitely failing on the chase part of things. The downs are quick and the resources are dwindling. So as we go further and further into the trial, it's going to be even harder for them to try and claw back any momentum. The reset comes through, as we said earlier, and the hunt hook is now on the horizon. Now we've got 2 survivors here playing chase. Still here, running towards the map, has the windows of opportunity, can see the resources that are left, has this pallet, and he just gets down on the pallet, unfortunately not able to drop that in time. And we need longer chases, to be honest, if we want any chance of coming back. We already had the scorch hook onto Phil here, so that's not going to happen. But Pedro is onto them. He's going to be checking this gen, which Marco was pushing. Wouldn't expect him to still be in the area. Yeah, it's almost like they can't leave the gen in time. He is going to kick that, though, and go straight back. We have Eruption applied to 3 generators currently. And so the next down is going to deal so much damage to whatever gens they're trying to work on. In theory, you know, they should be potentially using 2 survivors to try and split the map a little bit, but it's yeah, I mean, what do you do in this situation where the killer has so much pressure on you? You almost kind of have to hope for Pedro to overextend a little bit, and I feel like we're not going to be, you know, we're not going to be on the horizon of like escapes. I think Elysium could just hope for the 4K one right now.
Yeah, at least one more generator would be so important, right? Because then, I don't know, then your Clown maybe gets a 3-gen that he can somehow defend, and then you can aim for the tie and basically just scrap the set out for now and forget that it happened. But 4K2? I don't know, like sometimes we see a few 3-gens that you can chain together with the Shark gen, or when you have an unlucky spawn where they appear in the pocket, but I don't know. It's really tricky at the moment, and we so desperately need a generator though, because Invictus, imagine they would take this set as well, it would be up 2-0 while being under so much pressure. They almost feel like, okay, today is our day, Elysium can't do anything to us on these sets. Unfortunate for Silhey, that's going to be enough to catch it, and that's also really no, not by a long shot. Not Zach, you're an optimist.
No, I'm not paying attention clearly, but there's a Repressed Alliance coming in for...
Good that he used that. That will be important.
Of course, yeah, because now he can't kick the gen, right? So oh, he actually gets the vault over the fun bus, though. Highlight of the match. Not getting bamboozled by the game. I mean, this is just a ladder chase right now. There's nothing really Xeno can do. Oh, I mean, he vaults. I want to say he vaulted into him, but he actually didn't. He stayed on that side. But yeah, that's going to be a 4K2 secured by Pedro. Just basically putting Elysium on the back foot at every stage in this match. They did well to get the gens done that they did, but this was essentially Pedro's game from start to finish. I'd love to hear what our analysts have to talk about this game. Take it away, guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure what resolution y'all are watching that one in, but it does indeed look like a 4K to me, and we get to end it off with a nice Mori to go with it as well. Talking about a performance here from Pedro, and I think I had seen in chat people surprised that Nightlight Night Out. Again, I did say going into things, Nightlight usually known for a strong Clown, but Pedro as of late has been absolutely crushing it. Was number 1 on the ladder for like the longest time as well. I know Clown, one of those killers that gets played a lot within the ladder itself. Well, there it is. 1 trial on Wreckers done and dusted. And man, oh man, did Pedro put on a show. I mean, Flightless, what was going right in the start of that trial?
Well, to begin with, Clown, as of late, hasn't been really been seeing a lot of corrupt, as the chases are really good for Clown with a downtime average of about 1:31. And on a map like Wreckers, that's a pretty good time. But Pedro absolutely showing us why he is so consistent on ladder, because he got a 39-second down It was extremely quick. That would have made it was essentially like he had base kit corrupt. He pretty much had 5 perks. And also the fact that he downed next to someone in a locker for that head on meant that he was essentially on 2 survivors at one point. So they had a super quick chase with not a whole lot of gen pressure. Then Pedro was able to get a second stage at 4 gens, a death at 3, and while that person was sitting on the hook, everyone was injured. No one could save. So Pedro was completely free to camp out that hook and make sure he's in the 3v1 from the very get-go, which for Clown is extremely good.
Well, it definitely saw a good start to the trial. I'm kind of curious though, Edgar. Do you feel like the survivors did enough to be able to scratch and claw their way on back to be able to put an obtainable enough win condition for Xeno heading into this next trial?
No, but it's not as bad as it could have been. I don't think they win. I think 4K2 against a Clown is pretty terrible, bluntly. Clown has a surprising 4K rate at about like the 44% mark, which is definitely a lot more than you'd think a Clown would be 4King. Obviously, there was a pretty long chase from Xeno, and that kind of skewed the odds. Like, we were looking at a 4K3 without that chase, let's be honest, but it came out pretty extended. We end up at a 4K2. It is a better win condition, but it's a better win condition in the sense of I can punch you in the face 10 times, or I can punch you in the face 9 times. You'd rather just not go with either option, if we're being completely honest. So this isn't looking good for Elysium. This was Invictus' pick, Pedro proving why he's an absolute demon on this killer. Xeno is going to have to bring out something huge here, right? Like, you do not beat a 30-second Clown down that consistently. But hey, it's the grand finals weekend, right? We're all for weird, crazy happy.
Well, we've definitely been seeing in both of our matchups over the course of this weekend that you can never count either team out. You've got to be able to give each team a chance to cook. So Xeno now has that opportunity to be able to come out here and to be able to try and beat that 4K2. I think the big thing to keep in mind is if they don't, that will mean that Invictus is already halfway there to being able to force a final match, which will be happening next weekend, that best of 9. And Invictus, generally one of those teams that once you start to give them a little bit of momentum, they're really able to steamroll it from there. So let's go ahead and take it back out for one more trial here with the Clown. We're going to take another round back out in the fog.
Let's see, ladies and gentlemen, if there is the miracle happening. Xeno will take the responsibility, as far as I'm aware, here on the Clown. And usually I have a little bit of an idea after 6 years of tournament hosting what we could do theoretically to counter the win condition. But this is one of these trials where honestly think we need some dark magic, some tarot cards, and maybe a voodoo doll to win this, because that is an incredible win condition that we have to achieve here. 4K3 basically. And Zach, I feel like that's one of these trials where you would consider a tie an actual win.
Yeah, I mean, a 4K3 on Clown is even more realistic than a 4K2, right? So I think you're right when you say a tie would be better. Getting there, though, is the hard part, right? Because we had such a strong early game coming in, and we already have Rocket giving Xeno a hard time on this pallet. Will eventually get a health state there, but we're making our way over to the shack, the strongest tile on the map. Pallet's going to be dropped basically immediately, but he does get the hindered applied to him, so we'll see if he wants to commit this. Yeah, the scratch mark's going over there, and with this early game, he actually runs to a gen that's being worked on, unfortunately, so that's going to interrupt the progress at least. Xeno can be happy about that one, but down over to the fun bus, and we see 2 of the gens being worked on, actually, where the chase has taken a little bit of coordination on the side of Invictus, lacking there as the chase gets taken over to the pressure. on the map. Pedro over here on the Claudettes. And Zeno swings a little too late as the vault's already happening. So he's going to be playing these check spots. Again, another case of the 1v1 coming through. And he's already abandoned his first chase style. It's going to get the... Oh, was that Dragon Script? I didn't even notice. Pedro, of course, he touched the gen that Zeno kicked and then had to run away. And almost that's like equal pressure, right? Because of that down.
Yeah, this is a crazy early game regardless, though. Like, it basically feels like this Pedro down now is a great bonus to have, but you basically needed 5 of them. You need to apply Dragon's Grip on all the gens in the trial here. That's going to be a second objective very soon, Rocket! Rocket needs to be careful there because of the bugged window. So he goes for the snowball, but that unfortunately made sure that we will see the quick down onto Rocket here. Unfortunate for Invictus. It's going to be a little bit of a comeback now, though, for Zeno. Definitely able to spread some pressure through that, but it will require a lot more. But at least I would say, like, we have a base to build some hope on.
Yeah, that quick second down. It's not something you expect from these survivors, right? You're expecting these guys to really take over in chase, but it looks like maybe the pressure's getting to them a little bit, especially when you're faced with like the idea of your vault not going through on like phone bus. I feel like that tile has been the bane of both of these teams for today and yesterday, leading to some unfortunate scenarios. But we spotted out our rotation. Actually, it wasn't even the rescue. It's someone else running towards the gen. So Zeno's got sight on 3 survivors right now, or at least rough estimation of where they are, and he needs fast chases and fast chases and fast chases. He cannot really succumb to one of these mid-game chases like this, you know, where you're losing the 50s. Zeno needs to win everything. The dream is still alive. He has 2 injuries on the board, but this pallet gem's gonna make it so hard for him. And he fakes the pallet nicely. Doesn't make it back around, though, I don't think. Yeah, that's going to be Pedro going down for a second stage. And they have a second gen completed. A third gen completed. So that is the tie. They did have Fun Bus actually being worked on. I do wonder if that was anywhere near close. But, damn, cranking out these gens and making use of the chase that Pedro just put in for his team.
Oh, that's tricky now. Tie condition, basically, right? We have an injured survivor, so we might be ready to go for a quick down onto that survivor if it's a little bit quickly done and we find him out of position. Spitz and Dan, however, they are healthy and they will prioritize the generators given the win condition. So Pedro right now is not even considered to be saved. Like, you don't have to worry about Pedro. You don't care about him. If he types some minus reps on your Steam profile later for letting him die there, that's entirely fine, because all you have to do is getting the one more generator out for the win condition. And Zeno, he needs to go for the speed run. We need a down right now. And the firecracker coming out by Spitz here, celebrating generator number 4 and the second set point. Zach, crazy overall comeback from yesterday, and Spitz is even heating up now. He needs to be left because Zeno needs to check back onto Pedro if he actually dies, but Invictus playing this super smart.
Yeah, super good. You always know that they're gonna take advantage of a good chase, even if it's not like the best chase. They somehow always manage to get the gens just out so fast. They always have really productive, like, survivor. Their survivors are always being productive. They're always doing something. They're always contributing to the map's objectives, the map's resources, and they're also individually strong in chase too, right? So even if you split chase from one survivor to the next, you're gonna have just as hard of a time with one person than you are with the other. And when that's going on, you just know time is ticking down. Like, imagine the internal clock going on for Zeno this game, knowing he had to 4k2 in order to tie, 4k3 for the win. It's almost like you lose all of your hopes. I mean, he's gonna go down there Rocket on the final gen, Spit still on the floor. It looks like they just realized they've won, so the trial's just playing out as it is. But yeah, good momentum for Invictus going 2-0 up in this matchup. Of course, this is a best of 7, so they need 4 sets to win. I believe it's Billy that we go into next, one of the other killers, but yeah, we'll try to find Rocket on this gen. And I mean, to be fair, if Xeno's getting a good result here, that can at least feel nice for him. If he's getting a 4K1, if it's talking about momentum and all that business, then 4 kills is definitely good. Oh my god, he auto-aimed on that window, slow vaulting that to make sure that he doesn't fall victim to the bug. But yeah, I honestly, Invictus are looking good on both sides so far today. But just waiting for this trial to play out, I suppose. The Dragon's grip coming through. And yeah, I mean, it feels like, we always reach the win condition and then we forget that we still have a trial to play out, right? It kind of happened with the end of the match yesterday. Yeah, he's going to go down. But yeah, that is going to secure it. The 4K1 for Xeno. Congratulations to Invictus for taking that second match point, and we're going to throw it over to the analysts for a breakdown of this match.
It's another one of those situations where I feel like, had it not been for the performance by Pedro, if Xeno started off this set with this performance here, I feel like you would walk away generally pretty happy with it. Unfortunately, Pedro had came out and just came with a bombshell of a trial number 1 here on Wrecker's Yard. Flightless, walk us through the differences that you saw in between the 2 trials, though.
Well, first of all, I want to talk about that first chase. Xeno, obviously, he got a pretty early hit, and then he got a down with Dragon's grip. But it still came down even slightly beyond the average time for a Clown, almost by a full 10 seconds, over by 10 seconds. It was down at 144 compared to Pedro's 39 second, literally over a minute difference. And other than a few free hits and a free down on Rocket over at the bugged bus, it was a very textbook game by Invictus. And when you play textbook versus a Clown, there isn't much the Clown can do, especially with Xeno having to play for such a tough win condition. 4K at 3 gens, even Pedro with his incredible start couldn't get that. So Xeno was fighting an uphill battle from the very get-go.
Definitely climbing an uphill battle. And again, I mean, got to give it up to Xeno. Still had a good performance. Unfortunately, though, just is not going to be enough, which means we now get to shift our focus here as we move into set number 3, the Hillbilly set on the Blood Lodge. Important to keep in mind, Invictus currently up 2-0. Edgar, let's look forward to Blood Lodge. Is this win or is it already over if they lose their second pick of the day for Elysium?
I mean, Elysium, they don't look spectacular coming into this one because this is one of the sets that they played like way back when during the regular season when they had a mirror match against each other. Hillbilly was won by Invictus by a margin of, it looks like, 8 hook stages to 5, so not exactly a close victory either. Invictus winning that in fairly dominant fashion, all things considered. And this is Elysium's pick, which does make me kind of question why it's Elysium's pick. That there were matchups that happened. Obviously, that entire series ended in a draw, so there were different killers that you actually were favored in that you ended up winning. Things like the Wraith or the Nurse, which you could have gone to. But instead, they opt to go for something which they actually lost on, which is very interesting to me. Billy, surprisingly, doesn't perform spectacularly. Again, a killer that you'd think would be like a lot deadlier than he actually is, but no. Only 4Ks. Only 4Ks about 16% of the time, so one of the less deadly killers. It looks like Elysium, they just want to they think that they have more experience on this, and the numbers would ring true. Obviously, Invictus have played some Billy sets, including one against Elysium, but Elysium have picked Billy 3 times this season. Invictus have picked it 0. So they're banking on experience, and they're banking on basically being able to forget about the past and move on with the future. Momentum right now is massively in Invictus's favor, so Elysium have to dig deep to get some kind of change up here.
Now, Edgar, you were with us yesterday for the first match of this grand finals, right? And I'm kind of curious, is there anything that's like significantly different that you're seeing from Elysium? Because they walked away with a 4-1 victory yesterday, already down 2-0.
Inconsistency, nerves. I think there's the idea of pressure, and it's something that I've talked about a lot. The concept mostly is that when you're, the best, there's a target painted on your back, and Elysium was able to come into yesterday's series all loosey-goosey, kind of free, and they were just able to play confident. Now everything's kind of mounted up, the pressure is built, and you realized, oh god, we're going against the world's best survivors, and arguably the world's best killers, with this much money on the line. And the pressure is getting to them, and so they have to try and calm it down.
Well, remember, it was Elysium that came out on top yesterday. If they find a way to turn things around in these final 5 sets, there's a chance that we do not go into next weekend. We do not run things back for a best of 9, but it feels like if that is going to be a possibility, Elysium needs to see a turnaround now. This is their pick. Zeno getting ready to take the helm, take the control here on the Hillbilly. Let's go ahead and take it off to Azarov's realm, and we're going to go to the Blood Lodge and take another trip back into the fog.
Thank you very much. And the next trip will be into the Hillbilly set. Something Zeno is very well known for, but it's also something that Dan is very strong on too. So I'm expecting a super competitive set this time around. A chance for Elysium to get a point on the board. And we have Zeno already making his way over to the corner of the map. Hasn't found a survivor just yet, but the corrupt zone of the map is a good place to start. Going into that overdrive. And this is the thing, right? Playing safe during the Billy, not succumbing to that cross-map snipe is hugely important. I believe our fastest chase in DBDL at the minute is on a Billy, but it is one of those killers where he can essentially get downs from miles away, and if you do not play careful, if you do not position yourself properly, you do run the risk of that. But Pedro now being found as the first chase of this match. Of course, the performance against Invictus last time for Zeno was not really what you would expect of him. 5 or 6 stages, not the greatest. We are used to seeing him dominate with the 4K on this killer, and it just goes to show the strength of Invictus. So you almost say that his back is against the wall, especially when he's faced with his team going into a 3-0 scenario. But we still yet to find a down die, and I feel like this is going to come in eventually, but maybe not fast enough.
Now, you can tell me whatever you want, guys, but this is a new Invictus. This is a reformed Invictus, ready like a rocket, ready to strike with a lot of resilience here. And hopefully it will not end in a deja vu, but it is really important that they make a decisive strike here in set number 3 in order to ensure that they come out of this unbreakable. So let's see if it's going to be the continuation of the momentum, more of this energy, more of this pressure, and it's all on to Rocket, one of the 1v1 gods that we have in the community. Rocket, you need to run for next Saturday, for the best of 9, and for your team getting the 3rd and match point set, basically. Only one more after the Billy, and you would even sweep Elysium from the stage here. And Zeno has to leave Rocket. A crazy moment in an S-tier set where the killer is forced into switching over. Zach, that is a catastrophe almost, because as an S tier killer, you decide who dies and when they die. The fact that Rocket was able to force Xeno into chasing someone else is absolutely unbelievable, and Kexo just continues that, finds the pallet here as well. Next generator done. Yeah, who will stop Invictus?
Look at Kexo on these crouch attacks. I mean, we'll go down eventually, but he's wasting so much time for his team, and Xeno hits the tree, gets crouched. That's Kexo 3 times in a row, juking out Xeno's ability. Doesn't sound as easy as possible, and he's got this again! Kexo going on the run of his life, going around another tablet. Will go down eventually, but oh my goodness, this should not happen. This is Xeno taking the second down of the match so far into this trial, and look, we're almost at 1 gen remaining. Dire, this is a disaster.
Now this is a disaster. Yeah, this is the moment where you Google synonyms for catastrophe, and then you could basically throw 50 words that show up together, and that describes what we are currently watching here. 2 stages in exchange for 2 generators. Ladies and gentlemen, that's an unbelievable early game, and not for the Billy. It is an unbelievable positive early game for our survivors here. Rocket has a pallet as well, so a little bit of safety. Xeno doesn't even have time to apply the pop kick somewhere because he's so busy with trying to gain the pressure back. Now eventually and finally we got a little bit of time to force the generator into aggression back onto main here as well. Zach, I don't know, I'm trying to think about alternative strategies that could come up here, but I don't really have one.
Yeah, I mean, it's what do you do to come back from that? You need your next 2 chases at least, you know, to be fast. You need an elimination pronto. Of course, only 2 survivors being hooked, but they're not on the second stage. They're not on the struggle phase. So whoever you down right now, you would want it to be someone you've already chased. You had Kexo on the deliverance too, but every second that goes by that we're not getting it down or elimination, it's just more time for the survivors. So I feel like time is Xeno's biggest enemy right now. Pedro getting M1'd there by Xeno as he does make the window. Going to be vaulting over that with Bamboozle. Chasing over Pedro. Does have this pallet to work with. And he stops right before the pallet is dropped. And Pedro living. Does he make it? He has all of these tiles to use. Xeno is just losing everything. Doesn't fall for the fake at least. That's going to be Eruption, but they pop a gen in answer for that. And yeah, you would feel like if you wanted the hope for a 4K, you would be getting down left, right, and center after all that. But look at this. We are already in the end game. 3 stages. Invictus are on fire. They are here. They are here to play, not messing around in the grand finals, looking to take the match point in our next set. Dire, they are performing today.
When Nightlight said yesterday to his community, tomorrow will be a better day, I feel like after making that statement, he built a shrine in the corner of his bedroom and summoned all the DBD gods that you can potentially ask for help. This is an incredible performance. It's unbelievable. I really feel like we watch an entirely different team. And that also shows us how much impact lays in the picks and bans, right? Elysium yesterday with their Legion, with their shape, with the Michael that caused some chaos across the team. I was about to say, they hopefully don't have the idea to rescue Spitz there and we'll just take the outs. Not that we take any wild ideas here. But yeah, well done, guys. 6 stages on 4 individual survivors. And before you all step away to get more popcorn, stay here because we have an announcement.
I mean, we only get like a couple minutes between the trials. Let us get something. You know what I'm saying? No, actually, one thing I did want to talk about, though, real quick. I mean, obviously, not the start that we were looking for as far as on the killer side. Flightless, walk us through a little bit of the beginning of that trial.
Yeah, at the beginning, obviously Rocket, another one of the really, really well-known and really good ladder players. He is very well versed in how to run a Billy on Blood Lodge. He has played that set quite a lot, and he did show us. He showed us exactly that, and he eventually got hooked where Kexo saved, and then Rocket gets chased again, going for the tunnel out, and then Xeno has to leave that, and he chases Kexo, and Kexo shows him exactly why he is on Team Invictus by juking Xeno's Billy forever, and to add the little bit of sugar on top, he delis. He gets deli out of basement, and Xeno chased all that time, not interrupting any gens, for practically nothing. So from that moment on, it was completely in Invictus's hands. Xeno was just not able to come back from it. There was too many pallets left on the map. There was too much gem progress. Xeno was fighting for his life ever since those chases.
Definitely seemed like a start of starts, I guess is probably the best way of putting it. Edgar, how does this compare on the Billy to the last time these two teams squared off?
Elysium, they had to kind of break the mold here. They went to a killer that they have picked a lot, but they lost against Invictus 2 in the regular season. Now, technically, they've done better. In that game, they were only able to get 5 hook stages. This is 6. But are we going to give them a gold medal for that? No, not really. Invictus on their killer side were able to secure 8. So they are still very much behind schedule. It kind of just goes to Beggar's belief as to why they actually chose this in the first place. And we obviously there's a lot to discuss about the pick and ban system, and maybe we're nitpicking slightly. Of course, they're always going to be slightly more optimal picks, slightly more optimal bans for and against team whatever. But in the grand finals, I feel like you need to be very solid on those. This is going to be, provided that Invictus win this, like they are, to be honest, expected to, that's going to be the second trial. That's going to be the second trial this entire series that has been Elysium's pick, and they have lost on anyway. And maybe I'm going to sound like a bit of a that's what I do best. But I think that if Invictus win this, like they probably are going to, then they take this in 4. I don't see the vision for the Elysium comeback if they lose the Billy set.
It definitely feels like if there's going to be a comeback here today for Elysium, it has to happen now. And unfortunately, it didn't feel like Xeno on his own over on the killer side was able to get it done. So now we will look over to the Elysium survivors to be able to head out to the Blood Lodge and get it done. Send us off to that Blight set, only at a score of 2-1. Zach, Dyer, let's go ahead and take another trip back into the fog.
Thank you so much. And what an exciting announcement that was. The map callouts, absolutely beautiful. The artists cooked with that one. I hope you're all looking forward to that. But getting into the Billy set, back into the action, we had 6 stages on 4 survivors for Xeno. And now Dan looking to take it home, take his team to match point with his Billy. Of course, so well practiced, so highly practiced coming through. And is that 2 no-mithers on the wait, what? We got 2 broken survivors? Hello? I'm so confused. Oh, it was for the wait, what? Guy, I'm confused. Do you know what's going on? Why do we have 2 broken survivors?
I don't, but I think our team will tell us in a second. Right now, I'm a little bit lost as well.
It's kind of threw me off. I'm sorry. But that's a fast down onto Xeno coming in relatively quickly. 37 seconds. Massively
twisted this.
Plot twist. Wait, what? Oh, sorry. I completely thrown off track.
Now, the strategy at the beginning was to make sure that we do get the quick down, I believe, to... I don't know. We wait for the explanation from the team. I missed something. I was still busy with the map callouts there and wrapping up the announcement. So Whoa, Oscar! I feel like he could have actually dodged that, but making sure that he's entering the locker here, unfortunately, not in time. So, and yeah, it is indeed what I thought of, plot twist on the no Mathis survivor to get rid of the corrupt intervention, and then Xeno immediately FTP'd for the people, so they don't lay there forever, and they really have the survivor back in the trial. That's what we overlooked for a second. We apologize, guys. Thank you for the huge help in the background there, which is an incredible work here by our survivors. Unfortunately, I feel like with that very quick downs that we see at the beginning, it might backfire a little bit, but I really appreciate this wild strategy because it shows that they are here to fight.
Absolutely cooking there. Unfortunately, Xeno going down next to this hook. That is probably not the best move, especially with the reset coming in. We'll get the down onto Silhe. No, he misses both of them. Silhe is going to live another day, and now Oscar's there to take a hit. Gonna go back and just secure the stage onto Xeno. But wow, that was looking scary for a second. Almost had 2 slugs right there. But yes, insane play on the plot twist actually for the people. We're so big brain that even I didn't know what was going on. But yes, back into the trial, and Dan is looking with some good progress at the minute. He's halfway towards his win condition on the 7 stages. Onher comes through, and Oscar's getting chased now. Dan looking for that elimination. 3 gens remaining. And I definitely see the pacing compared to the trial that we saw last time is much in the favor of Invictus. So I'm going to need a juicer chase, and that is what Oscar is providing us. Getting a nice fake in onto that window. Dan missing, and now we're stuck at this car filler. And we're chasing around, playing the checks box on this, and he misses the swing. This is so much time bought by Oscar. The reset comes through onto Xeno. And this is a bit of momentum shifting back into the survivors' court. I'm impressed by what I'm seeing right now, but they need to keep it up if they want to secure a win.
Here we are, down with the curve around it, though. That is really important, though. We really needed that down. Not that Xeno is going again on some sort of a streak run here with the comeback as in the Dracula set. 3rd generator in the distance. Really amused with what I see here. The only problem is that Xeno is leaving the trial, so we lose a little bit of manpower here, but we still have 2 more stages technically. Zach, maybe something crazy here? Maybe a comeback? What do you think?
Yeah, well, essentially with that elimination, now it's going to be so much harder because they're not going to be able to be as efficient, right? And we still have Ruin in play. Ruin is doing a lot of damage to these gens, especially when you're able to push the survivors off. Oscar, again, in chase. Dan, unfortunately, getting caught on this tile twice in a row, trying to curve this notoriously difficult one for Billy. And yeah, decides to break the pallet. As we leave chase, and yeah, we've got 2 gens remaining. We start at that win condition, but Dan right now is losing a bit of momentum on the chases, so we're gonna need to see a down come through. Silhe is in a bit of a desert, does have this pallet, doesn't make it in time. He gets crouched. Nice, well played by Silhe. Dan slightly aiming, and now he will make this pallet. It's gonna be close. Oh, he greens and he crouches. Silhe, you absolute madman. Forcing Dan to M1, and this is the chases that we need. Unfortunately, Oscar getting pushed off this gen, spotted out by Dan, and yeah, he doubles back, and Oscar's gonna go down. That's another stage conceded, unfortunately, in this situation. Getting closer and closer to that win condition. Dan, not quite there yet, but it's looking very, very back and forth there. What do you think?
Really, really huge. I just want to mention something unrelated. You guys with these 3D models, you're joining the Discord so fast right now that Discord is sending us an alert that unusual join activity is detected. You guys are crazy. We love that you appreciate them. That was really one of our important projects here. Thank you so much, guys. In case you come in and you're getting limited a little bit, Discord at the moment thinks that you are all criminals. So Just a little bit of an info right there. I like though the spark that I see at Elysium again. Like I think it's unrealistic that we take the win here in this set because we still have a generator to work on and we have the next elimination coming up. But Zach, I feel like there's a spark again, and there is some, yeah, basically they are ready to fight again, and they cook up strategies again, getting into the trial, instant down with the plot twist, picking up to counter corrupt intervention. Now here fighting to the very end. Even if this trial slips out of the hand, I have hope for set number 4. Elysium looks more like a tiger again, not like a kitty.
You know, absolutely. Yeah. Look at that. Dan was by that gen. They're pushing both of these gens right now. They need to make sure that they survive, right? That's the only hope that they have. They still have injury, but as soon as one of these survivors are in chase, it basically is just like, you know, it becomes a lot more difficult to try and get those outs that you need. But Dan desperately holding on to this last gen. Silhe and Marco splitting these two really effectively. And of course, Ruin is going to eat into these gens. And it's nice to see Elysium are fighting back. Of course, it's just like not enough given the amount of stages that were set previously. But even though Invictus look really on top of the set, Invictus will show that they are not out for the count. That is Marco going to be going down. And we are getting closer and closer to that in condition. Will Silhe answer this with a gen, though? That is my question. Regardless, I think that no matter what happens right now, it is going to lead to, sadly, the loss. Especially Silhe finishes the gen. Very well played, but... Oh, interesting. He vaulted there. Going to be looking for the balanced landing off of this. Maybe for the unhook, but... I'm thinking that Dan is just in a position where he can just close this out now, and Invictus could be facing 3-0 match point as we go into the Blight set. After this down comes through, I'm very impressed by what I'm seeing.
Absolutely, yeah. Dan the man, also with a good killer performance, really across the entire team of Invictus, right? They are making sure that this responsibility is taken and that they step up. We need to circle back though towards this early game, not only because we missed it a little bit, but also because I feel like our analysts can explain really perfectly why Elysium was planning on that, and I can tell from the background chat that they are already lurking for that explanation. So guys, take it away, please.
Yeah, first off, got to give a big shout out to Dan the man with the chainsaw in his hand. Great performance here to be able to put another point on the board here for Invictus. But Edgar, we saw our desk was a bit confused, or not our desk, but our casters a bit confused with that play at the beginning. It took me a second to figure it out as well. Take a moment and kind of walk us through what we saw and why we saw Elysium trying to pull that off.
So obviously we're on delay, so I'm not actually seeing chat, so I want to see if they figured it out before us. For reference, it took like the entire analyst desk about like 30 seconds behind the scenes to piece together what had happened. But corrupt intervention, always a strong perk, even stronger on someone like Hillbilly, who only needs to patrol 4 gens at the start of the match rather than 7, right? Cuts down the area that you need to go into. It's generally very strong. I believe it's our most picked perk I believe it's our most picked perk. Yes, it has an 83% pick rate, 346 matches have had corrupt, so it's very popular. However, it expires either after 120 seconds, 2 minutes, or when the first down happens. Ergo, the survivors decide we're going to instantly down someone themselves with plot twist, and then instead of forcing them to recover on the floor, we're going to immediately pick them up with For the People. Now, the one drawback of this is that this does leave another survivor injured at the start of the match. So against most killers, it's not a great idea. Against Billy, however, being injured isn't really a big deal. Billy, to be honest, is not that good in chase. At least not as good as I think people give him credit for. His strength comes from his mobility and his lethality. The fact that if you make a mistake, yes, you instantly go down. But staying injured against a Billy is generally rather popular. Hence why you could also see why Dan ran Thanatophobia that time, take advantage of all the injuries. So it was a good idea from the survivors. Problem is they just had a terrible win con. They had an absolutely terrible win condition to match up to, and Dan is an absolute freak of nature on Billy. Was able to get great early pressure, was able to get a tunnel out at, I believe, the 2-gen mark, and then after that, it was just curtains. So Invictus have gone 3 up against Elysium. To be honest, it hasn't even looked particularly close.
It's strange because we all felt like there was just something off yesterday, not just in the sense of, oh, maybe Invictus not showing up to play, but also when we had looked at on the other side, Elysium, they were just, I mean, in it to win it yesterday. Definitely has felt like a different matchup here today. Now, let's go ahead and shift our focus then, in that case, on over to set number 4. We're going to the Blight. This could be very well where things end. I guess as far as your thoughts here, what are you thinking as far as for the Blight? Are we going to potentially see this thing extended all flightless, or is this curtains already?
Well, Blight, obviously a very strong killer. Most people agree that he is either second or first in terms of overall strength in the game. And in DBDLeague, he shows exactly that. He has the third fastest downtime average at about 1:09, and the second highest 4K rate at 83%. So Blight is, well, put it bluntly, expected to 4K. And Blight is an Invictus pick, so they are very confident on their killer side. Obviously, Pedro being the Blight player for them, a very, very good Blight player. He's very mechanical, and obviously he's a very good 4v1 player, so it just culminates into a really good game for them. Also, their surf side is really good, but I'm not actually going to count out Elysium for this because of one man, Obi. Obi Blight, I have seen this man do things on Blight I never thought possible. He is absolutely ridiculous. So I think that Invictus could take this, but I don't think it will be a clean wash. I think that it might come down to a tie, maybe, because Obi is going to put in an absolute shift. And I kind of hope that he does, so that way we can see this Deathslinger set.
Definitely would love to see sets 5, 6, and maybe even 7, but we've got to get through set number 4 first. We're off to the suffocation pit. We're going to be seeing the bouncy boy, the Blight, one of the strongest killers, controlled by some of the strongest killer players out in the fog. So let's go ahead and send it back over to Dyer and Zach as we start set number 4.
And I don't want to even think about the possibility that this comes down to a 4-0 by Invictus. I mean, I'm in general all for Invictus today, so we have to meet up next Saturday in a showdown best of 9, but not in a 4-0. Come on, Elysium, that will not feel too great when you have to go through the next week and the practices and basically having in the back of your mind we lost 4-0 in the second match. You really want to make sure that you come stronger than that. So Pedro will try to get Invictus into position for a clean 4-0 sweep, but Elysium will try to make sure that this is not happening. Pedro versus Pedro here, basically in the first chase, the ultimate showdown to who's the better Pedro, and that's a wonderful first chase from our survivor. Unfortunately, he does take the injury right here. Average downtime for the Blight is 1 minute and 9 seconds. So we'll soon know if Pedro or Pedro is stronger here. And unfortunately, Pedro is not stronger because Pedro is the stronger one, because Pedro wins the mind game against Pedro, and because Pedro is now downed, Pedro is actually better because Pedro would have need to win against Pedro for being the Pedro that wins against Pedro. And since that didn't happen, Zeno is now also injured, and you basically understand what I mean. Things are going wrong right now. Things are going very wrong.
It's almost like a poppy match. We've got 2 injuries and a down of 5 gens. Pedro string is the Pedro. Oh, and he gets a third injury through the locker. Oh my god, that read on
This
that.
is my
What?
solo queue, This is my solo queue, mates.
Yeah, a bit chaotic early game. Not really what Elysium want when they're on match point right now. Do you know, I was gonna talk about that first chase because Pedro actually denied the collision on the corner of main, which actually let him get that fast fall on the window, which is really nice. But then we just kind of roll into the middle of the map, and everyone is there. Everyone is getting smacked in the face, whilst Pedro is sleeping on the floor. And right now we're seeing what Pedro can do on this Blight. He is very, very good. Not had many chances to play it, but in the games that he has played, it has been really, really strong. Another ladder killer, of course, but he has played in a few of the 4v1s, and I feel like the survivors are just falling apart if they don't get some form of good chase coming through. And look at the S flick around the tile. So amazing reading that 50. And Pedro going down for a second stage. Marco basically trading in Pedro's face, knowing he's not going to make it anywhere else. And we're facing an elimination at 5 gens remaining. This could not be going any worse for Elysium right now.
And this is what I don't understand, right? It happens, in my opinion, too often today that the early game looks good, or we have recovery chases that then turn a bad early game into a good performance. But why do we always need this recovery? Like, Pedro had a respectable first chase there at the main building, and Pedro did a good job against the Blight in his run, and then for some reason we had to turn this into this chaotic, I'll call it mess, and now we need to recover again. And after they recovered, we will say, oh, Elysium, the masters of recovery. But can we not just play a good trial without recovery, without it being needed, with generators just getting completion because Elysium has everything under control? So that's what I don't understand. It's a weird dynamic today, almost like Elysium is falling apart in the matches today.
Yeah, I mean, after yesterday's like really strong put together strategic performance, and now Invictus are basically just steamrolling them. I don't really know how else to put it. Like, it is just like absolute domination. Elysium are looking so shaken right now. As soon as things start to go wrong, it seems like they're struggling to come back in a sense. And we've now got a survivor dead at 4 gens. Xeno using the balanced landing. And look at this conversion rushes into Marco, and he's just winning everything. Pedro just absolutely beautiful swing into Marco there, reading his every move properly, and he is looking on form today. We saw it in the Clown trial. Now we're seeing his Blight just absolutely roll over this Elysium team. They've got some progression on the map, but just these downs are coming in so fast, Dire. And I do wonder what result we're going to be looking at.
Yeah, we need some gens again, and unfortunately, it looks like we are in emergency mode, and Xeno is going down in an unfortunate way. This is not the Elysium from yesterday. I feel like it's the exact opposite of yesterday. Yesterday, Elysium decided what's happening in the trials. They were one step ahead with the strategies. They were great on the killer and survivor side and really juicing the opponent. And I feel like it completely changed. That speaks for the recovery of Invictus, and that they really sat together yesterday night and discussed some things and said tomorrow we'll make sure that it's going a lot better. But it also concerns you at the same time about Elysium, right? Because why do you fall apart so much? Like, we are not talking about just like losing today potentially. We talk about a lot of things going wrong. I'm worried.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I hope that the fans out there that have Elysium tattoos all over their back, I hope for them that Elysium will recover.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's Elysium survivor sides. There's been a couple of occasions. I mean, the Clown and Billy set their survivor side completely fell apart. I mean, we could speak to the kills, the skills of, the killer player, but inevitably, like, there are a few things that we kind of go back and look over and just think, I mean, that didn't really need to happen, or we could have played a bit safer. I don't know whether it's overconfidence or what's going on, but given what Invictus are doing to them today, I think they're really going to be needing to talk it over for next week, especially. Like, not going to call it right now, obviously, because we still have, I mean, Obi to put through a performance, and it looks like we're going to be getting down to 2 gens eventually. They've managed to recover in the time that we've been talking about it, but yeah, it's definitely like it calls into question what Elysium needs to look on. He just went into the locker. Marco being found, eruption procking, and yeah, I think for now they just need to hope for the 4K too. Given the amount of there it is. That's the third gen. Yeah, that is kind of just the penance that they need for this set, and Xeno pops that gen knowing full well that they're not really going to be able to get anything else done. So yeah, I this trial kind of was over in record time after that early game. Hits him on hook, trying to get the hit onto Xeno. This is going to be a trade, but oh, is that a DH? Xeno on the dead hard, as far as I can see on my screen, and he's crouching. The Xeno is unlocked right now, and he actually leaves, catching Oscar on the rotation.
Sorry, but this is what I'm talking about.
It's too late. Why we do this now?
This is what I'm talking about. Why do we see this amazing jukes happening when it's too late? Xeno, Elysium. Why is it happening like this? Why am I watching a game where Elysium is making the most questionable decisions from the early game onwards, and then when it's all too late and everything burned down, then they're like, oh, look what I can do with my mouse and keyboard if I want to. I can't do this anymore, Zach. I can't. I don't understand it. I'm losing my mind here.
When I felt like this was you and me during semi-finals, just Elysium just causing the most stress out of any team. Oh, I don't know, man. The inconsistencies when it comes to this team are almost kind of entertaining at the same time. Oh, a bit of a spectator bug. I don't know what happened to Pedro's Blight model there, but that was weird. 2 slugs on the floor now, and our final survivor has been spotted, so Pedro going for the cleanup duty, and just look at that, like predicting every move that they're going to be making, knowing that Marco wants to go for that window, and wow. Obi now faced with a 4K3 win condition, basically needs to save his team in the grand finals from getting 4-0 swept and just absolutely dominated by this Invictus squad. Invictus killer performances all around on both sides. They've been incredible. What a fantastic set to watch. And we're going to be throwing it over to our analysts for a quick breakdown of at least that early game. I mean, that was crazy, guys. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I know that it just all seemed to unravel oh so quick. Oh, hold on. When the moon hits your eye and it's your turn to die, that's amore. Anyways, yeah, really strong first couple of chases there. I mean, the beginning of the trial, I literally stepped away to grab a drink, and then all of a sudden, just everything kind of fell apart. I mean, what did you guys see happening there?
I mean, the Pedropocalypse, I would call it. That guy is a freak of nature. Took over every single aspect of the game, put the survivors in a pack, and then sent them back home. That was insane. That's one of the most ludicrous early game Blight performances I have ever seen. This guy was firing on all cylinders, didn't miss a single rush. He got, like, hard juked at main building, and then, like, on, like, his first 2 rushes, and then somehow, like, goes through the building to cut the survivor off at the pallet miles away to actually get the final hit. I don't know what they put in this guy's drink. I still maintain that we need to start, like, testing for PEDs for these players, because they should not be playing like this. No human being is able to do this naturally. I don't understand it. But hear me out, because Elysium love to do their little late game recovery. Drawable. Do they win? No, like they don't. You don't 4K3. Blight's good. Blight's really good. But you're not going to 4K3
Drawable, you
against
think?
Invictus. But yeah, like I say drawable, not a draw. But like if I were a gambling man, that's what I would put the money on. I think 4K2 is a semi-realistic tie condition here. Now granted, it's against the Invictus survivors. It's going to be Obi picking it up on the killer side, so we'll see how well he can do here. But series might not be over yet.
I mean, 4K2 doable, maybe, but I think the big like hold up for me is against the Invictus survivors. Flightless, what are you thinking here?
Well, if any one man can do it, like I said before, that's Obi. Obi Blight gonna have to pop off. I was sitting here watching that screen share. Snicky hopped up on my desk. She was looking for some pats, and then she saw the gameplay, and her mouth just dropped, and she started putting her paws over her eyes, shaking her head back and forth. She has no idea what was going on. So Obi's going to have to put in an absolute shift if they're going to win this. Now, if they happen to draw, as Edgar said, that he predicts they will, then this will not be replayed immediately and they'll go straight to the Deathslinger match and it will technically be still a 3-0. But that it also is Elysium's pick, which today they haven't had the best luck with. So it very well could go into Invictus' favor even then. A 4K2 is tieable, but it's going to be very difficult versus a Survivor squad such as Invictus.
I think the toughest thing when you look at it, right, is even if you tie, you move forward to the Deathslinger, you find yourself in the same situation that you're in now, that you need to play pretty darn near perfect DBD on both sides of the matchmaking here in the fog. From here on out, if you are Elysium, it's going to be a tough draw. You've got yourself a far mountain to climb here. So I guess here's the question that I would like to refer over to you, Edgar. As far as for our killer, they're going to want to be able to match that same sort of condition here. What kind of time do we need on this first down?
Like 5 seconds, to be honest. But okay, look. So 109 is the standard, of course. The first down here came in. I want to find the exact time the first down came in. 53 seconds, so even ahead of that. Sub-minute. Put it like this. So if the set is going to... All right, so I'll just make the random prediction now. If the first down comes out in less than 1 minute, then it can be drawn. If it takes longer than a minute, then Invictus closes out right here.
Well, come on, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're our only hope if we're going to be seeing sets 5, 6, or maybe even 7. You got to come out here, show up, and show out. We've got people who believe in you. Let's go ahead and head right back out to the suffocation pitch. Our suffocation pit. It is trial number 8, the Blight. Let's go ahead and take another trip back in the fog.
Thank you so much to our analysts for breaking down the chaos that was the last match. Obi definitely with a tall task ahead of him. And like you say, a good early game is going to be the key to success. But match point for Invictus, they've been showing such a strong performance so far today. And now we will see what Obi can do to combat this absolute super squad who have been dominating all day. Going over to the corrupt area of the map, and on this top side, looking for our first survivor. Of course, like one of those oppressive killers, and not showing yourself early would be good. It looks like our survivors are staying hidden a little bit. No one in sight just yet. That was one of the things. We have our first chase, actually. It's going to be on to somebody. Didn't quite see. It's going to be Spitz, actually, on the main building. Has this window on the pallet side. Actually doesn't have the best main building. And Pikz has been found now. Doesn't look like he wants to commit for that one. Nice flick around the tile. Oh my god, that must have been what Flightless was talking about. Obi absolutely locked in. But doesn't look like he wants to commit the chase. A little bit of indecision, actually. Tries the firecrackers. Spitz now in chase. Oh, he's all over the place. There's 2 injuries now. Almost the same as last game. Looking for those last survivors. But Dyer, it just seems like Obi doesn't want to commit a chase right now.
Yeah, the key to success, you called it in your intro, right? And I feel like the door, the gate that needs to be opened by Elysium is unimaginable size, basically. Obi does get a little bit of pressure here and there, but nothing too meaningful. We don't have the downs, we don't have the hook stages. Kexo already taking care of the reset in the distance, and Invictus again in the good position. You play for the win condition, right? You don't play for the most beautiful match now. You don't have to walk out with millions of stages. 4 gens are enough, and when you have this win condition in your mind, you will play according to the win condition, so you can keep it a little bit slower, because you know we don't necessarily have to break the 3 gen, we don't necessarily have to get all the 5 generators done. As long as we reach our win condition, which allows them to ignore the 3 gen, we are fine. And that also has an impact on when do I throw the pallets. If you plan for outs, you might keep some pallets in the trial to keep them for later. If you know that 4 generators are enough, you can just go and throw them early. You can even waste a pallet if needed. But you play entirely differently, and this is a huge advantage that Invictus has at the moment because of this beautiful win condition, and that is an additional factor that is really heavy onto Obi's shoulders here. We do have the down finally, but we need a lot more, and unfortunate for Dying Light, this is the obsession.
Yeah, sadly not going to be able to get extra stacks there to slow down those non-obsession survivors. But we already have 2 gens on the way, and it's going to be looking at 3 gens pretty soon in only exchange for 1 hook. So yeah, playing out this early game slow seems to be Invictus's priority. Like you said, playing for that win condition because they know that's all they need to do to close out the series. Bit unfortunate, you know, it's not the most exciting stat compared to last time, but you know, it's essentially, you know, it's almost as if they're playing for $7,500 maybe. Maybe I don't know. Looks like they're playing for money to me. But yeah, absolutely clean performance in the early game. And now Obi's going to be making his way back up, trying to potentially look at an early elimination. If he can do that before these gens pop, that would be absolutely fantastic. But these survivors are not going to make it easy. Obi's going to need to put in an absolute performance. Lithe going to be used. Pedro pathing towards the middle of the map, and it looks like Obi's used all of his rushes now. That's so much distance for Pedro. And this is not going as it should right now for him. This is giving all the time to the survivors to get those 4 gens done. Don't have to worry about any form of 3 gen or 4 gen. They just pop the gens that they see, and it should be the game closing out. Dan now in chase, and our gens being worked on. And yeah, it just feels like the Invictus survivor side playing this a little bit slow just to get these this win condition met, and it's also kind of working in the favor of Obi, right? When this is slowed down and we have a survivor's not working on those gens that Obi needs to defend, it's good, right? But he doesn't know that, so I imagine the pressure that he's feeling right now when he's not getting these downs quickly.
Ah, yeah, Reno and friends. Sometimes it's hard to support them, but we will see. Obi still has everything available, and we still have a realistic chance. Unfortunately, Kexo is with a great juice here, but he does take the injury, and that's what we need to follow up from. Obi, speedrun time, let's go. We need to fight. Ah! Warum? We need to catch him. I can't do this
Just
anymore.
down everyone, please. You need to do it now.
There's Spitz. Where's Spitz coming from? Where's Spitz coming from out of nowhere? Okay, but now we have 3 injuries, Zach. 3 injuries is more than 1 that we had earlier, and 3 injuries means we can rush to a lot of 2 injuries. It's still fine. 2 injuries, we can still get
because
a
he's got
meaningful
body.
pressure. Yeah, it's the 1 survive. Okay, we got Dan as well. So this is the recovery plan, ladies and gentlemen. No one on a gen at the moment. Never mind, Pedro is on a gen. That's also fine. It's fine. 1 person on the generator. That's like no one is on the generator. We get the heal right there, but now or never, Zach. Now is the chance to take over.
The second we get above 2 injuries, it's time to get excited right now. But when we play slow in the heal, it's looking bad. This is bad team. But right now it's looking good with the 3 injuries. Pedro on that last gen. Oh, he just misses out. That's 5 rushes used. That's precious time that Obi needs to get these downs, these injuries, these hooks, and these kills. He's holding on valiantly, but the survivors are edging closer and closer to those gens. Had a bit of pressure, but I don't see any injuries any heals happening. Oh, never mind. Kicks over himself with self-care botany, but we still got Spitz and Dan resetting in the distance. Kexo's playing for this gen. Hedro's almost finished. That's going to be the tie condition at least secured if he gets that done. It's going to be relatively likely. Kexo not going to be able to corner tech that. Obi, with his game sense and his Blight skills, going to know that that is one of the things that these survivors do typically like to do, especially on the shack. Oh, he tries to V1 around that tile, but the vault coming out. And look at Kexo's chase ability, man. So nice to watch. Switching over to Pedro now. Chaos drops the pallet, breaks it, gets blinded, and now we see Dan, and everyone's just everywhere. Dire injuries left, right, and center, but no hooks, no downs. And this is the time that Obi needs to spend trying to get these stages, forcing the grab. The eruption comes through, but it's looking like I don't know. It still could go either way. It's not over till it's over, right? But damn, Invictus making it difficult for Obi right now.
They really make it difficult, and I can only imagine the pressure that is on Obi at the moment. You have your team in the background that you basically have to carry in a huge backpack. You have the responsibility for your fans, right, that are cheering for you. You have the responsibility for yourself in order to not leave the stage tonight with a 4-0 while preparing for the best of 9 showdown next weekend. So we need to make something happen. Dan on the hook. That means we need one rescuer who's rotating over. Kexo is also injured, so he needs to be careful. That leaves essentially one person healthy that can currently work on the generators, and that definitely has a chance still for Obi. He needs to find a perfect balance now between pressuring the survivors in chase and taking a look at the generators that are around him. Ooh. And we also need a little bit of luck that these hits are coming through here. I feel like the Dying Light was an absolute wrong decision. Like, we don't see any value from that perk. It would have been great if there would be any help that Obi had at the moment from an additional perk, but the Dying Light was unfortunately not it. Dan getting yoinked here from the window. Spitz on a 50% generator in the distance, so they are on edge to the win con, and as said, they don't need to worry about a 3-gen, so they can basically just pressure anything. But I think the dream still lives. The tie is possible.
That is, yeah. Oh, Spitz on the cusp of getting hit there, almost getting caught out. But one survivor rotating for these gens, and Obi goes for an ambitious swing at the window. That's not going to connect. Obi is the GOAT. But Dan's still injured. Oh, Spitz, I didn't quite see that. Must have juked or something. Yeah, now we're getting to a point where there's nothing really happening. Heal comes through. Dan being protected because he is second stage. Oh, doesn't quite get the swing around to the other side of the wall. We're going to be kicking these gens, preventing the progression with that Call of Brian, 150% regression on the gen kicks. And like all 3 of our survivors are on gens. Spitz now buying time at Shack, trying to pull him from one side to the other. Injury onto Kexo, but 4 survivors alive. He can't commit this because he knows that they're just going to be cranking out that last gen for the 4-0. Obi cannot let go of these 2 gens. Well, these gens that are remaining. He needs essentially fast chases, and he needs to transition it into the next one, and it needs to be a chain reaction. It's like dominoes falling, but it has to be fast. It's still alive, but it's going to be so difficult. And look at how fast this, or how close this gen is. And Spitz, look, he's 80% on that one. Obi needs to understand that there's a gen really close right now. He cannot commit this. Obi, are you listening to me? You need to go over to Spitz right now. Other this is 4-0. Spitz is on the last gen. Well, second to last gen. And with that whiff, I think that's it. Invictus waiting to pop the gen. He's not popping it.
The audacity.
Oh, the cheek.
Okay, they got it.
Man, it was
The
alive
rough
for a
truth.
little bit.
The rough truth, and maybe even a little bit of a reality check for everyone who came in here and said after yesterday, Elysium is just gonna smash through and will win dominantly over Invictus. Invictus has shown us that you cannot count them out at all. Totally different story today. More of the classic comp killers. More of the comfort zone for Invictus, but a 4-0 was not what I expected here. But ladies and gentlemen, that means we will meet up next Saturday at 6 Central European Time, noon for the East Americans, for a best of 9 showdown.
Yeah, and I mean, I wasn't expecting such a steamroll. I mean, I know Elysium are a great team, right? But they do have some inconsistencies that we have seen a few times so far this series. Maybe 2 or 3 early games that haven't gone too great. But I mean, I'm excited that we get to go to a best of 9 for grand finals of the biggest tournament in DBD history, right? But Invictus like unraveling Elysium in such a convincing fashion, you do have to wonder, like, they're showing their strengths. Of course, yesterday was in Elysium's favor, but this was so convincing to me. Like, this wasn't even remotely close in Elysium's favor. At no point did they kind of face like any form of hope. Maybe in the Billy set, but even then it was basically over. But from one set to the next, it's totally been Invictus's day today. So I'm expecting a lot of practice, a lot of like kind of reviews from Elysium to go over maybe what went wrong this time around. But yeah, we're just finishing up this trial. But Dire, we're gonna have a best of 9 next week, right? So we're gonna have 9 killers, and bearing in mind we're basically running a rule where we can't repeat killers, right? So next weekend we're gonna potentially be faced with some weirder picks, right? So in my mind, that also kind of gives Elysium a bit of a edge in terms of maybe playing some more weird sets like we saw yesterday. But yeah, potentially it could be a bit more closer next week. I don't know.
Crazy, absolutely crazy. A best of 9 will tell us the story next weekend. I just want to say thank you real quick for an amazing grand final so far on the Saturday and Sunday here to both of these teams. I want to thank Egdar from yesterday casting. I want to thank you, Zach, for being here with me today. A fantastic match. The best of 9 sets have already been selected. You guys will be able to find them in our Discord. The analysts will also discuss them briefly in a second here on the analyst desk. But I think for us, it's time to sign out. It sounds a bit dramatic, but Zach, any last words?
Any last words? No, just thank you for sharing the stage with me. It's been absolutely amazing. A really intense weekend, and I feel like every match has been crazy. Like, either one-sided slaughter or super close exciting contest, and I think that's all going to accumulate to an insane grand finals next weekend. So I guess until then, but thank you so much everyone for coming along this weekend, and to everyone in the background, the DBDLeague colleagues. Appreciate you all. Thank you.
Then we throw it back to the analyst desk. Thank you, Zach, again. Guys, it's all yours. Tell us about next weekend while we enjoy the final moments of our trial here.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting dynamic compared to yesterday, ain't it, chat? I feel like similar in the sense that, well, yesterday I felt like the series was closer than the 4-1 scoreline may lead you to believe. I feel like that's also kind of the case today. It will officially be a sweep, but for a couple of the sets where Invictus walk away with the dub, there were still some very strong performances, whether it be from the Elysium Killer or the Elysium Survivor as well. But I think before we move forward too quickly, let's kind of talk about that last series or that last set here very briefly. Flightless, what did you see that was different on the Blight set in between our two killers as far as Elysium and Invictus?
Well, when watching Elysium, Blight, obviously, both Blights played super fast paced. That's how this killer is played. You use your rushes, you bump logic, and you flick around everything. You get those hits, you get those down super quick. So both players played incredibly well in that aspect, but the survivor side is completely different. At one point, as Dyer would say, we saw Pedro get downed by Pedro after Pedro chased Pedro, and he got downed on a pallet, and then you see Pedro look back, Pedro on the Blight, sorry. You see him look back, and you see Zeno straight up just running for that pallet save immediately and getting chased, and shortly after getting hit. And then you look at the Invictus Survivor side, and Invictus didn't have a second stage until 8 minutes into the match. So while Obi was playing super well, like it wasn't Obi's fault whatsoever. He was trying to play for a super tough win con. He had to play this game somewhat slow but fast paced at the same time. The Invictus Survivors, they played the early game super well. If I can find the time exactly, the first down came in at 2 minutes and 50 seconds. A whole minute and 40 seconds behind schedule for a Blight set. And then after that, they played the 4-gen also extremely slowly. Obi using Eruption and Call of Brian to try to slow the game down a little bit, and the Survivors just running towards top side where main is, and just healing and constantly going back and pressuring and healing and pressuring and healing and pressuring. So they played it to a T, and Obi just couldn't keep up, even with his immaculate bump logic.
I think it'd be easy to look at, well, a sweep and say, well, a bunch of things went wrong or a bunch of things went right, depending on which team you're breaking down there as far as the reviewing, I should say, not breaking down. But Edgar, give me like the one thing that stood out to you the most from our grand finals match here today.
It's got to be kill performances. Like, you kind of expect Invictus to be good on the survivor side. That's their whole deal. But you don't, like, you expect it more so. They have strong killers, but they have a high win rate. Hear me out, I'm going to say something slightly controversial. Not because they have the best of the best killer players, but because they have a survivor team strong enough to just set really good win conditions for the killers, right? Now, I say best of the best, like top 2, like championship level, right? Like, they're still obviously incredible players like Pedro and Nightlight. But today, they kind of took it to a new gear where they came out swinging with immaculate killer performances, ones where they actually set the win con very generously for the survivors, and it was kind of reversed in that way. So, to be honest, I think it was mostly the killer gameplay that stood out for me. And obviously, killer gameplay encompasses a lot of things. You know, finding your survivors, chasing your survivors, Pedro killing Pedro, and then just killing everyone else in about 10 seconds because he felt like it. That's what I would say the key difference maker was for Invictus today.